different.
What if good things come to an end? We always say never say never. What if this is our moment? Yeah, lose it, worry about our future. You know sometimes people change, that's how it goes. Love can be confusing, wonder how we're doing. What if we go up in flames? What if we don't? But I know you care when I see you stare with the same look in your eyes that you used to have when we
Good
met
morning, my
way
friend.
back
Am I
in
audible?
love for the first time. It's so stupid of me, foolish of me to begin to doubt you, baby. 'Cause I know you
I
care.
can hear you, Jalapam.
Oh no, and I know you care, I know you care. Oh no, and I know you care, I know you care. Oh no, and I know you care, I know you care. Oh no, and I know you care, I know you care. But I know you care when I see you stare with the same look in your eyes that you used to have when we met way back and fell in love for the first time. It's so stupid of me, foolish of me to begin to doubt you, baby. 'Cause I know you care, I know you care. Oh no, and I know you care, I know you care. Oh no, and I know you care, I know you care. Oh no, and I know you care, I know you care. Oh no, and I know you care, I know you care. You stare into my eyes and it makes you wonder, is she the one I'll take home? I stare right back at yours and it makes me wonder, why is he here all alone? I love going out to where the music's too loud and where the people surround me. Yeah, here's my best advice, just let me stay in this vibe and never think that you owe me. Yeah, you can talk to me, boy, and you can move it up close, but that's as far as it goes. I'm not your baby, I might be up for a dance, I might be holding your hand, but that is all I can stand. I'm not your baby, no, you're not gonna get what you came here for. I'm leaving as soon as you ask for more. Yeah, you can talk to me, boy, and you can move it up close, but that's as far as it goes. I'm not your baby. It's getting late, but I'm only getting started. And now they're playing my song. You look at me and think, damn, she's broken hearted. But you could not be more wrong. I love going out to where the music's too loud and where the people surround me. Yeah, here's my best advice, just let me stay in this vibe and never think that you owe me. Yeah, you can talk to me, boy, and you can move it up close, but that's as far as it goes. I'm not your baby, I might be up for a dance, I might be holding your hand, but that is all I can stand. I'm not your baby, no, you're not gonna get what you came here for. I'm leaving as soon as you ask for more. Yeah, you can talk to me, boy, and you can move it up close, but that's as far as it goes.
Look,
I'm not your baby.
knowing that you're not my baby, but I think maybe you reconsider. When I pull up in that brand new thing with the iced out chain and the new chinchilla, and you ain't for the heart when you walked on the floor, you a rude gal, Batman killer. But you ain't never did with the boys in the band, with the bands in the box like Dilla. Love it when you hill up, will up, bring it back, come rewind.
3 proposals and 1 presentation. Is Shaila online?
Yes, button. I'm here.
Excellent. So I'll leave the mic to Sunny for the NRO-NC election procedures.
Good morning, all. Once the slides come up, I'll do the NRO-NC election procedures. We have elections in this conference for both NRO-NC as well as SIG co-chair for all the SIGs, Cooperation SIG, NIR SIG, Policy SIG, and Routing Security SIG. Just waiting for my slides to come up. Thank you. All right. NRO number council elections to elect an individual to represent APNIC community at the ASOAC. That's Address Supporting Organization, Address Council of ICANN. There's 1 vacant seat on this in these elections, and it's a 2-year term from 1st January 2025 to 31st December 2026. That's full years. Call for nominations was opened on 3rd June 2024 and is closed on Monday, 5th August. It's 5:30 p.m. Brisbane time, where the APNIC Secretariat is located. Online voting was available to both APNIC members as well as all those who are in this room and outside who are attending the conference, as long as you meet the voting criteria, which is listed on the APNIC website, on the conference website. You can do your online voting via APNIC login. So when you log in on the APNIC website, you will be presented, taken to the voting page. APNIC members as an organization is entitled to 1 vote, and corporate contacts and contacts with voting rights of those organizations have the right to vote using the online system Big Pulse. The voting period starts at 4 o'clock on Thursday, 22nd August, and it will end today at 2:30 p.m., just after lunch break. The eligible conference attendee voting, if you are registered for the conference, you are eligible to vote as well as individual. And the criteria is attendees who intend to vote must be checked in at the registration desk. Obviously, you're all in the room, so you're all checked in. And registered and participated in one of the 8 Apricot or APNIC conferences, which is from APNIC 50 onwards to APNIC 57. We are at APNIC 58. The voting period is 9:30, which is today, Friday, 6th September. It starts at 9:30, which probably already started, and ends at 2:30 today, just after lunchtime. Declaration of results. At the close of voting, the election officers appointed by the APNIC EC will hold a meeting with the scrutineers, again appointed by the APNIC EC as well. They will download the results because it's an online voting system. They'll download the results, email to the election chair in the presence of the scrutineers. The election results will be announced at 4:35 p.m. Today in the APNIC member meeting. And the election chair will disclose any disputes and resolutions and the disclosure of any communication from scrutineers as well as any issues. This is the format of the election results. You see the candidate name and the number of votes they received. And it's the same format as the previous NC elections. Election Chair, Sherry Lagakali from NetSafe, New Zealand, appointed by the APNIC EC, independent from any APNIC member or organization or candidates, and has no interest in these elections. Responsibilities: oversee the election process, appoint the election scrutineers, declare the election results, and resolve any disputes that's brought to her. Election officers from APNIC Secretariat, Andre and Connie, appointed again by the APNIC EC to oversee this election process. And their responsibilities are administer call for nominations, manage the voting process, retrieve the online election results, and report to the election chair and answer any queries from members and attendees who are here. Election scrutineers, Athina Frakauli, got it right. Thank you. And Champika Vijayatunga from ICANN and both IPNCC, appointed by the election chair, selected from the staff of the internet organizations, our sister organizations, such as RARs, the other RARs, the ICANN and the Internet Society, and who are present at the conference. They do not take part in the elections. They are again independent from any member organization or candidate. Responsibilities: observe the downloading of the election results by the election officers and notify to the election chair if they find any issues. Notice of dispute: any complaint, if you have any complaint regarding the conduct of the election, must be lodged in writing with the election chair and be lodged no later than 1 hour before the scheduled declaration of the election. So the election results will be at 4:35 p.m. today, so 1 hour before that. Notices may only be lodged by nominees or members through their authorized voting contacts, that's corporate contacts or the voting rights contacts, by email to election-chair@apnic.net. The election chair shall resolve the dispute at their own discretion. And now I'd like to invite the election chair, Sherry Lagakali, to announce the nominees.
Thank you, Sunny. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sherry Langakali. I am honored to serve as election chair of the NRO-NC election today. I would like to express my sincere gratitude towards the APNIC EC for giving me this opportunity to serve you. First of all, I'm going to introduce the nominees running for the NRO-NC elections. As this is a hybrid conference, we will not be having any live speeches today, but you will find all the nominee profiles and statements on the election webpage. There are 2 nominees. In fact, in order of the 2 nominations received, I would like to introduce the nominees to you. Let's see. So this is the link where you can access the nominee profiles. And the 2 nominees running for the election this morning are Carl Kloppenberg and Nicole T.I. Chen. These are their profiles. Again, you can access this via the APNIC website. This is Carl's profile and Nicole's profile. I wish all the nominees the best of luck in today's elections. We will move on to the next stage, which I would like to declare that online voting is now open to both APNIC members and APNIC 58 conference attendees who will meet the voting criteria that was explained earlier by Sunny. If anyone is having any voting or login issues, please contact the help desk. You can contact them via phone or email. I would like to declare the voting is now open and it will close at 2:30 p.m. this afternoon. And we will proceed to make the announcements at 4:35 p.m. again today. Thank you. I will pass the microphone back to Sunny. Thank you, Sunny. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. So now we'll go with SIG administration, and I will hand the mic to my co-chair, Anupam. And I would like to have a special thought for my both co-chairs, who, because of the time zone difference, it's very, very early in the morning for them. Please go ahead, Anupam.
Thank you, Bertrand. Can we move to the next slide, please? So this is the policy-SIG charter. The policy-SIG charter is to develop policies which relate to the management and use of internet number resources within the APAC region. This include policies for resource allocation, recovery and transfer, and for resource registration within WHOIS, reverse DNS, RPKI, and related services. The previous proposals which we had discussed as part of the OPM was Prop 158, which was on IPv6 auto allocation for each IPv4 request. The version 1 of the prop was presented at APNIC 57. It did not reach consensus and it was sent back to authors. We have not received any response from the authors, and as such the status of the proposal is abandoned. And the proposals for the open policy meeting today are the following. Prop 157 is on temporary IPv4 transfers. Prop 159 is on a reduction of minimum IPv6 allocation size from /32 to /36, which we will discuss. Again, what we will discuss is Prop 160 on change IPv6 initial assignment to /44 from organizations eligible for multi-homing, and Prop 161 using IPv6 for Internet of Things. It has been withdrawn, but we will have an informational presentation. The open policy meeting agenda, it is already in process. So Bertrand, I think you'll have to give a formal welcome remarks if you have not done so. The NRONC election procedures and SIG administration was done by Sunny, and then SIG administration, I am running it now. After this, we will have the policy implementation report, and then we will go through the various proposals. Next slide, please. The agenda for the OPM2, wherein the SIG administration will be run by Shaila, and then we will again have the policy implementation report, and we will go through the remaining proposals. As far as steps to implementation of the policy proposals is, there is a proposal submission, then there is a mailing list discussion, followed by consensus at the policy SIG. Then there has to be a consensus at the member meeting, after which there is a comment period, and finally there has to be an EC endorsement, and followed by editorial comment period, and finally the implementation. The implementation period and the impact assessment is provided by the Secretariat as part of the Secretariat Impact Assessment Report. The meeting follows a consensus-based decision-making. What is defined as consensus as part of the APNIC procedures is a general agreement, which takes into consideration comments both on the mailing list as well as the open policy meeting. If there are objections, the objections are classified as both minor and major. Minor means that there are some problems for some members of the group, but a major objections is which occurs for a significant part of the community. All the participants are expected to work together to resolve these objections. And in this meeting, we are going to follow the code of conduct. The link is there, which lists down what is the expected code of conduct for every participant. For gauging the consensus, we are going to use the tool called Confer. For consensus, there are additional items which we take into consideration. One of them is the mailing list discussion on the proposal, then the discussion which ensues in the OPM, and also the discussions at the AGM. And along with Confer, the consensus is gauged, and based on that, the decision is taken. This is the Confer tool. You are seeing how the Confer tool looks like. You can, based on the voting pattern, it gives us what is the consensus looks like, whether it is strongly supported, strongly opposed, or neutral. So there are 5 different options, and one can choose one of the 5 to register your preference. And just to note that none of the RIR staff, ICANN and PTI Secretariat staff participate in the consensus call. These are the 3 reference documents for your perusal. One is the APNIC policy development process, the other is the SIG guideline, and the mailing list subscription and archives. This will be all. Back to Bertrand for moving ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Anupam. So now we will have Sunny again for the policy implementation report. Thank you.
Thank you, Bertrand. All right, this is the policy implementation report for the previous proposal that reached consensus. The Prop 154, resizing of IPv4 assignment for the IXPs, and the second one is Prop 156, assignment of temporary IP resources. They both reached consensus at APNIC 57 on 29th February 2024. We opened final call for comments, not we, the chairs opened final call for comments on 1st March 2024, and it was closed on 8th April 2024. And then the chairs requested the APNIC EC to endorse the proposals. They endorsed it on 4th June 2024. I'd just like to recap what these proposals are. I'm not sure if anyone, some of you remember. So the first one, resizing of IPv4 assignment for either IXPs. This proposal suggests changing the default size of the IPv4 assignments for IXPs from /23 to /26. Which can be replaced up to a maximum of /22 if the IXP agrees to renumber and returns the previous delegation space. This is applicable to both new and existing IXPs. This proposal will not be retrospective. Subsequent assignments will be evaluated based on the current policies and demonstrated need. And these resources cannot be announced in the global routing table, and also they're not transferable. So all the other resources you can transfer, but these ones delegated under this proposal, once it becomes policy, cannot be transferred. The other one, assignment of temporary IP resources. These are resources for the conferences and events, up a maximum of 6 months. And there will be a reservation made for V4, V6, and autonomous system numbers, which Secretariat will use this resources reserve pool for making these delegations. These will be delegated to APNIC member. So if organization requesting these resources has to be APNIC member, otherwise they have to become an APNIC member. This will be temporary in nature, and the database will be updated and has to be used only for the events, not for commercial use. And if after the end of the period, these need to be returned to the Secretariat, to the APNIC, and these resources do not count towards their membership tier for the members. And the resources must be returned before the end date. If there is an extension, that's up to the Secretariat to decide to extend that period or not, but they must be returned before that 6 months period. So the implementation work is in progress. As you can see, there's a lot of pieces in there, that we have to carefully consider. There's a lot of core system need to be changed. And also routability of resources might be monitored and create alerts for further action for our staff or host masters. And the minimum delegation size is always used to be /24 for RARs, but this proposal, the IXP proposal, is actually changing to /26. That means, there's a lot of things need to be changed in the procedure-wise as well as systems-wise as well. So we are aiming to complete this by end of Q3, and the implementation will be in Q4. And we will make announcements of those as we progress through the implementation process. And that's it from me. Any questions? None? Thank you. I think I'll stay here. I guess next is mine. No?
Yeah, well, we've got George's.
We have Jody online, right? Thank you.
And I will hand the mic to Jordi for prop 157, temporary IPv4 transfers.
Can you please, Bertrand, confirm that you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is the 4 version of proposal 157. Let me clarify this. The version that we have discussing the last few weeks was version 3. And following the discussions in the mailing list and also the impact analysis, I prepared a couple of days ago a new version. The changes are so small that the chairs decided that it's better to introduce them directly in the slides, and I will show the differences, small differences, in the corresponding slides. So IPv4 temporary transfers. The idea of this proposal is to resolve the discussion that we have got during several years about leasing. The main idea is that in some cases it seems the community will like to have something equivalent to leasing, but is not a clear consensus if they want to have a direct leasing or something else. And I got the impression that actually what we have, which is transfers, can resolve the situation by making temporary transfers. Okay, so that's the overall idea of the proposal. And in this case, because the priority is the benefit of the region, it makes sense to have only these temporary transfers within the region, not with other regions. So the objective of the policy change is that APNIC current policies only allow permanent transfers, and this proposal specify a change in the policy to allow temporary transfers. I think it's important to remind that actual policies don't allow leasing. So this policy at the moment is the only possible solution for something equivalent to leasing. What is the situation in other regions? Only in RIPE NCC temporary transfers are allowed. At this time, RIPE NCC actually does not contemplate leasing, but also don't explicitly prohibit leasing. In APNIC and LACNIC, there is leasing is not contemplated, neither temporary transfers. I have an equivalent proposal also in LACNIC. Temporary transfers are not contemplated in ARIN, and leasing is not a valid justification of the need. However, when leasing addresses, no more addresses can be requested, and additionally, certain blocks cannot be leased. So what is the text of the proposal? Basically is some changes to the existing IPv4 transfer text. So in the next 5 slides, I have the actual text in the left of the slides, and in the right, what I am proposing to change. In blue is what we had in version 3, and in red is the small change for version 4. So you can see in this case, we have just a definition of what are the temporary transfers. And what we are saying here basically is that as well as for permanent transfers, there is a public block. So anyone can consult what is the status of the transfers. We want to have the same for temporary transfers. And in this case, when the temporary transfer finish, unless there is an extension agreed by both parties and, of course, must be legitimized by APNIC, in the sense that APNIC should know that there is an extension. Then APNIC will restore the original registration information of the WHOIS database when the transfer period is over. Next change is just to mention that APNIC will process and record both permanent and temporary transfers. So it's a very, very small change in the existing text. Now, just a quick note, because there was an important change from version 2 to version 3 that I want to make sure that this is understood, is that one of the reasons the proposal didn't reach a consensus in version 2 was because there was suggested in the proposal a limitation of a maximum of /22. And the discussion in the community seems to bring the idea that the community don't want to have that limitation. So I removed that text. So now section 11.1.1 will be exactly the same as what we have right now in the existing policies. Conditions on recipient of the transfer. Of course, we need to mention that instead of a plan for usage of the transfer resources in 24 months, we need a plan for demonstrating the use of the resources in the transfer period, because this may be, of course, smaller than 2 years. So it will not make sense that we ask for a demonstration of 2 years usage of the resources. Now, there is a new section which is not existing in the actual text, and this is where we have most of the changes that I mentioned between version 3 and version 4. Basically, what we are saying here is that in case of temporary transfers, there are additional conditions. And these additional conditions must be warranted by the transfer contract among the parties. So the conditions have not changed basically from the different versions. One major change was that we were enforcing the usage of IPv6. Now is there must be a plan, but there is not a restriction in the sense that it must be actually deployed during the period of the transfer. And the major change between version 3 and version 4 was following the impact assessment, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, and the discussion in the list, that I was suggesting that APNIC will be able to establish practices to ensure the compliance. And there was some legal discussion about that, etc. So I decided that it would be better to remove that text, because in any case, both parties are subjected to the contract and both parties are subjected to the existing policies. So in any case, APNIC could verify some of these situations in extreme situations where there is a strong lack of compliance with policies. And then to clarify one of the comments from JPNIC, I think it was not needed, this text, but just in case, I added one sentence, which is the recipient is not a valid source for subsequent transfers. What that means basically is that if you get a temporary transfer, you cannot do a new transfer on that because you are not the valid, let's say, holder of the resources. You are just getting the resources for a temporary period. And that means obviously that you cannot retransfer or subsequently transfer those resources. Advantages of the proposal: it allows a way to obtain resources in a temporary basis in order to typically facilitate the IPv6 deployment in a convenient, cheaper way than permanent transfers, which is especially important for small organizations and newcomers. With the change that we don't enforce the deployment of IPv6, this means it's also good for other situations that are not related to the deployment of IPv6, okay? I don't see any disadvantage of this version of the proposal. neither any impact on resource holders. And with that, I finish my presentation. So if there are any questions.
Thank you, Jordi. Sunny, you want to do the Secretariat assessment, please?
I probably should just stay on the stage here with you, but you're feeling lonely, right? I'm just waiting for my slides to come up. Before that, just want to say that, Secretariat takes the impact assessment quite seriously. Whenever a proposal is submitted, there's various teams at the Secretariat that we review and analyze and make this assessment. So if a new version is published while we are all at the conference here, it won't be able to have time to do that for the various teams. So what I'm presenting here, the impact assessment, is the previous version of this proposal, which is version 3. And I do note that, the author have changed a few wordings in the proposal in the version 4, but that requires a clear assessment from the Secretariat, which we don't have the time to do it here at the conference. So it's quite lengthy, this impact assessment, but I will read it out. It's published on the website as well as was posted to the mailing list. So this is an impact assessment for version 3. The Secretariat notes that this proposal suggests a policy modification that would allow for temporary transfers between account holders. That's applying to intra-RIR transfers, not inter-RIR from RIPE to APNIC to RIPE or other RIRs. APNIC and NIR account holders, that means within the APNIC region and between NIR account holders as well. We posted some questions and comments. The Secretariat notes that temporary transfers under the proposal would inherit the conditions under section 11.1.2 of the APNIC Internet Number Resources, the main policy document, being the conditions on the source of the transfer. The Secretariat notes that under that redrafted proposal, that is version 3, the source will be responsible for oversight of the criteria set out in section 11.1.4 of the proposal. However, APNIC will be able to establish operational practices to ensure compliance. Given enforcement actions taken by APNIC in accordance with such operational practices may encroach on the responsibility of the source and thereby increase APNIC's liability. It is unclear how it is proposed that APNIC ensure compliance with section 11.1.4, especially in the event of disputes between parties. The Secretariat will need to develop procedures and additional conditions. For example, under a template, maybe use a template for transfer agreements to account for numerous solutions which may arise, such as, we have a few examples there, where there is a disagreement between the source and recipient. Source requests cancellation, but the recipient declines, or if the recipient requests a transfer extension, but the source declines, or source alleges the breach of policy regarding compliance with manners, best practices, or the correct updating of IRR and the geolocation. The treatment of resources if the source and or recipient account is closed for any reason, and this happens on a regular basis for non-payment, or company deregistered, etc. If the source account is acquired, such as under a merger or acquisition, again, this is a common practice these days, and the acquiring account holder requests to transfer all the resource to another account, including any temporary transferred resources. The time required to consider such scenarios and develop appropriate conditions and procedures has been factored into the implementation period set out on the next slide. The Secretariat requests clarification of the meaning of the following sentence in the section 11.1.4, and in quotes is the text that's been proposed. In case of lack of due diligence by a source, even with different temporary transfers or recipients, APNIC will initiate a warning which, if ignored, will trigger the immediate revocation of the resources involved. So it is unclear what is meant by lack of due diligence by the source. Is this intended to reference where the source fails to adequately monitor the criteria in section 11.1.4, or is it even with the different temporary transfers or recipients, the meaning is unclear. APNIC will initiate a warning. I note, it's been changed, but this is version 3. This suggests that APNIC will still be required to enforce the criteria set out in section 11.1.4 rather than the source. Trigger the immediate revocation of resources involved. Is this intended to refer to the revocation of the temporary transfer or the revocation of the resources from the original source, such that they are returned to the free pool for redelegation? Implementation, it requires system changes, policies and procedures. So we are implementing, if it reaches consensus, we will be implementing this in 12 months' time. And that's the impact assessment. Any questions? If not, back to the chair. Thank you.
Sunny,
Please.
I understand that you did the impact analysis of version 3.
Yes.
But I believe that with the removal of the text in section 11.1.4, everything that you mentioned is corrected. I understand that you cannot confirm now, but just to clarify for the rest of the community. Thank you.
Jody, I mentioned that one, but thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Hello. Yeah, good morning. I am Sanjeev Banyal. I'm Director General Education and Research Network from India. Just some suggestions are there. In case of temporary transfer or leasing, there should be some total number of times that extension.
Sorry, can I interrupt you there? The chair not opened the comments and questions yet on the proposal, so please stay there. But
Okay.
is this a question or comment for me, for my assessment, or this is for the author?
Yes, for your assessment only. That
for my assessment.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yes. It is for that we should have some kind of number of extensions which are allowed, and the total duration also, so that it can be for this much total duration and so many extensions should be possible. Second is about the dispute in case of source and the transferee. Is there any dispute? Then there should be some mechanism for dispute settlement as well.
Thank you for your comments and questions there, but I think that's related to the proposal, not to my assessment,
Okay.
Secretariat assessment.
Oh, that's fine.
But you can ask that again to the authors. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll now open the floor for comments. For those online and even on site who are willing to use Confer, please make sure you can log in at confer.apnic.net. So now, Jordi is still there. Good. Do we have questions for Jordi? I guess we had already one. And don't forget to state your name and affiliation. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Christopher Walker, speaking in my personal capacity here. First of all, I note that the authors proposed version 4 for discussion here today, yet version 3 was posted to the mailing list. So I honestly believe that this policy should be withdrawn at this time for the simple fact that community has not had ample time to review the amended policy proposal.
Yeah, the modification were very, very small, so we decided to move on.
Decided to accept it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, moving on. An attempt to legalise leasing is against current policy. It appears as though this proposal is nothing but an attempt to legalise leasing, which, in the spirit of the internet, if a resource is not being used, it should be returned back to APNIC for further delegation to other members who have a genuine need for it, and not turned into a commercial resource, which is then further used. This also may open up potential legal issues, such as what's currently occurring in the APNIC region, where if APNIC attempt to reclaim resources due to a member misusing them, the member that the resources were transferred to could commence litigation against APNIC under the guise that it may disconnect, hundreds of thousands or millions of people from the internet. Thank you.
If I can respond, the I agree in principle with Christopher that if somebody got resources and they are not using them, they should return to the registry. I said this many times, even the last few weeks in the mailing list. This is my personal view as well, but the community accepted long time ago transfers. So if we accepted transfers, why we are not going to accept also temporary transfers? It's a solution. It's not a way to legalize leasing. This is not leasing. There are big differences between this and leasing. Leasing may be happening under the table, and I think it's much better to have a controlled way to allow people that, yes, should return the resources because they are not using them, but they will not do, and the policies don't enforce that. So if we allow it permanent transfers, why not we allow temporary transfers? Regarding the point that this can open legal battles like in APNIC, well, that's not because leasing or transfers. That's because somebody's not following policies. And this can happen today in APNIC if APNIC tries to reclaim resources and the ones that got those resources allocated don't agree with the policies. So they can try to go to courts. But that's not related to this will happen because we have this policy. This is because we have policies in general.
Yes, but just going back to where you said if a member doesn't have a need for the resources, they should return them. If they're not using them, or if they're doing a temporary transfer, that indicates they're not using those resources, which means that those resources should be returned back to the RIR.
But this is the same if they are doing a permanent transfer. There is no difference.
Well, there kind of is.
Hi, this is Yoshinobu Matsuzaki from IIJ. Let me clarify one thing. So can we transfer historical resources under this policy?
Historical resources?
Yes.
Well, if there was already a change a couple of years ago regarding historical resources. So if they have already been under the contract of the membership, there will be no difference, right?
Little bit different in terms of the fee.
But remember that in policies we don't talk about fees, so that's something for the EC. And in fact, in the text of the policy proposal, I mentioned, it was not in the slides, but I mentioned that the EC will need to set up probably some fees for this, depending on the kind of resources. So that's already, it's not policy text because in the policy text we don't talk about fees, but it's contemplated already in the policy proposal.
Yep, in the policy proposal, it states that from the time of transfer, it follows the current APNIC policy. And I understand it, once a temporary transfer happened, it's subject to calculate for the fee of the member.
Yes, the exact text I have in the policy proposal is the EC could establish specific rates for this type of transfers and or their extensions. I am not mentioning for which type of resources, so I leave up to the EC to decide that.
Okay, yeah, it's good. And also, once the resource return to the source, is it subject to return the historical status? I don't think so, but
I am not changing that. I keep that. I mean, remember that this is, in that sense, we will have the same problem, not in the return, but in the sense of the transfer of resources, of permanent transfers. So I am not changing the status of that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kenny Huang. Speaking in my personal capacity, just one comment to Jody is the temporary transfer is not equivalent to a transfer policy because consider the impact assessment, that's what raised previous impact assessment, basically that could create potential liability to APNIC, and also we also need to consider potential impact to the RPKI system. Thank you very much.
Well, I don't think there is any different liability if you compare this with an ISP that got an allocation and then is doing a sub-assignment. So the liability is exactly the same. There is no difference. Now, regarding their PKI, in the additional conditions, I already specifically mentioned that the recipient must have RPKI for the transferred resources. So that's already contemplated.
Okay, may I repeat? Yeah. Good morning. I'm Sanjeev Banjal. I am from Education and Research Network, ERNet India. I'm Director General there. While I endorse this proposal, the suggestions which I gave in previously is regarding there should be some provision for the number of extensions and the total duration on which temporary transfer is possible. Second is in case of dispute between both the parties, that there should be some dispute resolution mechanism and the final authority to take a decision should also be part of the proposal. That's my suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Regarding the number of extensions or the maximum period, initially I was thinking that we should do that, but the inputs from the community was no minimum period, no maximum period, no number, no limit on the extensions. So that's the reason I don't have that in the text, because the community told me don't do that. Regarding the disputes, I just put an example, and the situation is here the same. If you are an ISP and you get a location from APNIC and you are subdelegating, and there is a dispute between the ISP, which is the APNIC member, and the company that got that subdelegation or suballocation or subassignment, there is not a dispute procedure for that situation. So here is the same, because it's something that it may be happening in a jurisdiction where APNIC is not participating. So APNIC only has a relation with the original holder of the resources. So there is no need to have that dispute procedure, because then we will need a dispute procedure also for every subassignment that APNIC members can do.
No, there could be some situation where after say 2 times of extension, if the source is putting some more conditions which are not acceptable to the recipient, in that case, in case this dispute arises, then there should be, I mean, as a part of natural justice, there should be some mechanism should be put in place. I feel so.
I don't think so, because that will be too complex. And at the end, it's a contract between two parties that are apart from APNIC. So APNIC just follow the instructions from the original holder. That's it. If the original holder decides not to give the extension, that's part of the contract with the one that is getting the transfer, right? So I don't think that will be easy, neither something that APNIC should be part of it. Okay. In fact, that was part of the complaint in the impact assessment for version 3, that I was making somehow responsible for that to APNIC. And that's, again, probably too complex.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more comments or questions for Jordi? Any comments on Zoom? Nope. Okay. So this policy proposal has been discussed on the APNIC mailing list. And after today's discussion, the APNIC policy development process requires the community to reach a consensus on a general agreement. So for those using Confer, it's time to log in if you haven't done so yet. And I will now make a consensus call. You'll be given the opportunity to indicate whether you strongly support, just support, neutral if you object, or if you strongly oppose this proposal. If you strongly oppose this proposal, I will ask you to step up and explain why. So, for those who is confer open? Yep. Mine is. Yeah, I got it. Good. For those who strongly support this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. For those who support this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. Those who are neutral about this proposal? Thank you. Those who oppose this proposal, please raise your hands. Thank you. Are there any strongly opposition to this proposal?
For the reasons outlined in the staff report, it brings too much legal risk to APNIC, and it brings a leasing market that cannot be controlled and leaves the leasees at risk and the mercy of the partner. It's just too much risk.
Thank you very much. Georgie?
George Adagi from APNIC. I've got a remote participant, Liam Stevens, leaving a comment. He says, speaking in my personal capacity, I believe there is a larger difference between temporary and permanent transfers than the author is conveying in the proposed policy solution. A permanent transfer can be performed when resources become available at the source and the source can decide to return to APNIC or permanently transfer. That's it.
Thank you, Geordie. I will now chat with my co-chairs and get back to you very shortly. So I've conferred with my co-chairs, and we have noted that the committee comment for and against adoption of this proposal. On consideration of these inputs, we believe that the community has not reached consensus on the proposal. And as such, we are maybe thinking of asking Jordi to review his copy completely or just drop the proposal. What do you think, Jordi? Should we go back to the mailing list again? Because this proposal has been on for a bit now.
The thing probably is that the last changes have been in too short time, and there was no discussion in the mailing list on them. I was expecting that it was published, so even if it's just a couple of days, we get some inputs. But I also see in the comfort that there is, I don't know how many, because you only can see strongly opposed, but not how many people. It will be good that the people that are strongly opposed in the confer explain why, because maybe there is something we are missing, right?
Yeah, well, the confer is just another gauging system.
Yeah, I know.
It's why we don't use numbers on it, because if you've got like, I don't know, 7 people, it's not completely meaningful. It's just another indication. And
yeah, I understand that, but I mean, if there is 7 people, it's 7 people that could have objections, and I could resolve them or not, or 3 people or just one, you know?
And maybe these people have expressed themselves, but that we don't know. It's just another tool. And all the tools together, the mailing list, Confer, and the room, are against this proposal. And mostly because it might open the Pandora box about leasing with all the consequences. So do you want to review it completely, and or maybe just drop this one and take into account everything that's been said and put a completely new one online for the next one?
I think making a new one instead of publishing version 4 is no difference, right? So I think we should publish version 4 and see if we get some inputs. That's my preference.
Okay, we'll go with your version. Oh, we've got a comment. Yes, please.
I like to change my oppose to the strong oppose, because I think this is go to the version 4 and the whole proposal is not clear. So I like to move to the strong oppose.
Thank you. We've got another comment on Zoom. Yeah, we call for consensus, but majorities still want to go on with this proposal. So maybe another input.
George Daji again from APNIC. Liam Stevens says a temporary transfer suggests that the source has resources that are available and will remain available for the foreseeable future, i.e. these resources should be returned to APNIC, not used for temporary transfers.
Well, you have it, Jordi. It looks like the community really doesn't want the leasing to be legalized. So just give me a second. Thank you. So, Jordi, the chairs have decided that we will drop this proposal because of the strongly opposition, mostly of the community. So no leasing on the IPv4, well, temporary transfer, sorry, on IPv4. Thank you.
I should then submit a completely new proposal, which is probably version 4, right? No sense. Yeah.
Prerogative.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jordi. Thank you very much. Thank you all. So next we have proposal 159, reduction of minimum IPv6 allocation size from a /32 to a /36. Has anyone seen or hear about Christopher Munz-Michelin? He has not registered for this conference, neither online or on site. No. Okay, so that's going to be quick. Because the author can't present his proposition, and because we couldn't have, well, we didn't have any answers from all the emails we've sent him, we've decided that this proposal will be just dropped. if someone wants to take the proposal back for himself and present it on the next OPM, you're welcome to do so, obviously. So I guess we'll skip the impact assessment on this one.
Bertrand, can you check please if he's online or not?
Well, I've checked with the registration office 10 minutes before the start of the OPM1, and there was no registration from Christopher Munz. Okay, he's not online. Yeah,
Okay,
well,
it's not.
online nor is not registered. So, well, that shortened the session. So, if anyone wants to have a couple of coffees, because now we're going to have a lot of time, and so we'll just adjourn this session for now. And I'll see you back for the session number 2. Thank you all.